Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Thanks to technology, although I am in the sunny Caribbean, I am delighted to join you in celebrating the 10th anniversary of the publication of the BLAC Report on Education and to share with you some reflections on the past decade. First, I do not think that as a community, we need to be reminded that the greatest attainment of human endeavor has always come to those of us who have ascended the mountaintop of illumination and, like great leaders such as Nelson Mandela and the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., become imbued not only with peace, harmony, and understanding, but also with the power and fortitude to overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. You may well ask what this has to do with the 10th anniversary of the BLAC report. In response, I would say that if we were to assess carefully the current global and national developments in human affairs and diligently weigh them together with the numerous local developments, or lack thereof, of the past 10 years, and compare and evaluate them with the BLAC vision of African Canadian education in 1994, as reflected in the report, I think that we reasonably could conclude, and be correct in that conclusion, that Nova Scotians in general, and African Nova Scotians in particular, are ready for and are in need of a journey to the mountaintop. When we consider the many frustrations due to lack of tangible proof or evidence that progress is being made, I think that there's a need for our continuing sense of perspective to reinforce our self-awareness and the ability to develop and to maintain not only our personal self-confidence and self-reliance, but also the confidence and trust in our leadership for the journey ahead. Today, we are called upon to reflect. I therefore draw your attention to the fact that the BLAC report affords and reveals to us a pathway that urges us to rise to great heights as we study and learn about past errors, commissions, and omissions. We learned that historically, we experienced a past that was clouded not only with myth, superstition, legend, and misinformation, but also with deliberate distortion, manipulation, and destruction. Nonetheless, the BLAC report also gives us an opportunity to consider and to understand from an African Nova Scotian perspective how beliefs and institutions came into being, their historical environment and impact. Furthermore, it gives us time to reason and to reflect, time to be inspired positively, and to resolve not to let the hands of time reverse themselves. Second, I think that as a community, we have been fortunate that through the efforts of the BLAC Learners Advisory Committee, which included community leaders such as the late Delmore Buddy Day and other notable members with whom you're now familiar, today in Nova Scotia, we have established important structural changes in the field of education. The Education Act was amended to establish a Council on African Canadian Education. It is significant to note that African Canadian education is defined in the Act to mean the development of programs, resources, and learning materials that provide information about and promote understanding of African people and their history, heritage, culture, traditions, and contributions to society, recognizing their origins as Africans. Likewise, as we recommended, an African Canadian Services Division has been created in the Department of Education. Additionally, we envisioned a regional educators program that was to support and to mobilize the communities around educational programs and issues, and to assist parents to advocate effectively for their children. I understand that this program is alive and well. Furthermore, the BLAC recognized that no systematic education endeavor worthy of its reputation can operate without research capacity, and that our ability to innovate is linked to our ability to access and assess the most recent developments in our operational field. We concluded that without research capacity, the African Canadian community could not be informed and be effective contributors to the educational renewal necessary to redress the inequities that the report identified and which continue to plague our education system. Therefore, we affirmed, in partnership with the government of Nova Scotia, that in order to address and to correct this deficiency, we will establish an Afrocentric Learning Institute. I know how much frustration most of us feel about the slow progress on achieving this vital institution, but I'm informed and pleased to learn that the government is increasing resources for this vital infrastructure, and that the Council on African Canadian Education has been working diligently to develop programs for it. We look forward with great anticipation to the day when the Institute is established to resume the research work that was initiated by the BLAC. I think that these core recommendations and changes have and will affect societal thinking, and have and will create structures that will present infinite and varied opportunities. Through this process of participatory action approach, our communities have become involved and are proactive rather than being reactive. Therefore, in the context of freedom from whatever restricts you, if you think that it is impossible to be free and do not dare to be free, you will never be free and will forever remain a prisoner of the circumstances. Thus, I implore you to think success, and you will attract success, and success will be your constant companion. Third, you must remain focused. To this end, if we have not yet done so, I think that we need to have the courage to respect reason and rational thinking. We need to develop a different attitude about life and the conditions which surround us. We need to develop a broader and more universal view of the journey ahead. We need to rise above the petty and common things which distract us and attempt to limit us. We need to rise above these obstacles and to be able to see them and look at them in their true relationship to all other things. We should also recognize and celebrate the creation of guaranteed seats for our community representatives on the regional school boards, the establishment of student support workers, and the cultural and academic enrichment program. Furthermore, as we recognize that a legacy of discrimination, including institutional racism, may have left some psychological scars and created socioeconomic factors that we must overcome, it is imperative that we keep up the current momentum and resolve. To do so, however, we must break away from those ideas and beliefs which act as weights to embed us in a quagmire of falsehood and self-deception. In their place, we should foster and develop positive alternatives and use effectively the additional resources to level the playing field. To this end, scholarships and bursaries are of vital importance to ensure that our youths continue to access programs and post-secondary education as learning institutions open their doors. We must therefore also commend the government for implementing the BLAC recommendation for scholarships for teacher education and science professions. Therefore, as a community, we look forward to seeing more African Nova Scotian teachers, doctors, pharmacists, engineers, banking officers, lawyers, and of course, judges. Fourth, a lesson of the past is that we must take responsibility for our education, as to leave education to the school system without monitoring or participating is disastrous. If the system fails, we fail. We cannot demand accountability unless we too are prepared to be accountable. When we complain and want change, we must be prepared to become involved in the process and work towards positive changes. That is how improvements are made, and in time, a people evolve. History will help us to explain, but it is for us to understand that it is vital to be all you can be in the present and to persist in your climb to the mountaintop. Finally, to the former members of the BLAC, to the members of CASE, past and present, and all our partners in education, I commend you for your efforts, commitment, and contributions. Keep up the good work. I end with this prayer from Martineau, and trust that we will always be mindful of his message. O God, who hath commanded that no man should be idle, give us grace to employ our talents and faculties in the service appointed for us, that whatsoever our hand findeth to do, we may do it with our might. Cheerfully may we go on in the road which thou hast marked out, not desiring too earnestly that it should be either more smooth or more wide, but daily seeking our way by thy light. May we trust ourselves and the issue of our journey to thee, the fountain of joy, and sing songs of praise as we go along. Thank you, good night, and God bless.